The Philadelphia 76ers got screwed last night. I don't want to be Mr. Ref guy. I don't want to be complaining all over the place, but it is hard not to after that matchup. Between the missed call on Tyrese Maxey as he attempted the game winner and the sixth foul in overtime against Maxey as he shuffled his feet guarding Trae Young, it's unfortunate hand that the Sixers were dealt in that matchup, and that did ultimately lead to the 139-132 loss at the hands of the Atlanta Hawks. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what went wrong, how egregious those calls were, and why this is so frustrating from the Sixers' perspective. I want to start with the point of this was a game in which it was a Tyrese Maxey masterpiece. No, the raw stats aren't perfect, that his efficiency isn't off the charts, but 35 points, shooting 12 of 29 from the field, 4 of 11 from 3, 7 of 9 at the free throw line, getting to the free throw line 9 times. Also added 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals for Maxey. This was the type of game where it looked like he took that next step. With no Joel Embiid in the lineup, there have been some questions about can Tyrese Maxey be this level of scorer without this MVP caliber player next to him. That he obviously has grown into this sidekick role where he is at his best playing off Joel Embiid. But what is the version of Tyrese Maxey when there is no Joel Embiid? And we saw him in attack mode in full force last night. Maxey scored 9 of the Sixers' final 13 points in the fourth quarter. Some two-way dominance in which he matched up with DeJounte Murray, stopped him on the defensive end. Some impressive stuff from Maxey as a whole between going up, dunking on guys, taking his three-pointer. It was the type of performance that I truly feel was that next step for him. Now, the unfortunate reality of things is that opportunity to truly take over the game was taken away from him. So I want to start with the missed call on Tyrese Maxey as he went for the game winner at this context of the game, that the score is tied. Tyrese Maxey is on a heater at this point, that he's been hot the entire fourth quarter. So Nick Nurse essentially runs the play of Tyrese Maxey, go get a bucket. And he did his best to get there, but took a huge slap on the wrist as he went and attacked the basket.
Trae stripped it off his leg. He got a piece of the ball right there.
Well, he has done that. That's a perfect call.
Now, look, I get it. Referees are human. You're going to miss things. But to me, as we sit there and look at this and see this slap on the hand right there, it is frustrating that that is the way the game ended. That ball goes off Maxey's knee, go out of bounds. They call it Hawks ball, and they get a last-second full-court heave to attempt, and it ends up going to overtime. Now, I'm not saying Maxey would have made that shot, but at that point in the game, it felt like damn near everything was going in. And to see that get taken away from him was really disappointing. And then to make matters worse, we get to overtime, where Tyrese Maxey is disqualified from the game for his sixth foul on Trae Young, and in one of the more frustrating factors. So I'm going to roll the video here and then get into this specifically.
Nick Nurse is up pleading his case.
And you know what? He handled it. That's good defense. That was good defense there.
Few different points of frustration here. For starters, what more do you want Tyrese Maxey to do? That he's got his hands up, he's sliding his feet, he's in a defensive stance, he's guarding the man with the ball. And the other biggest point is the NBA has made a conscious effort to eliminate these non-basketball plays over the years. It has literally been referred to as the Trae Young rule, that this is something that the NBA has looked to crack down on. That prior to the start of the 21-22 season, the NBA announced a number of new rule changes to crack down on, quote, overt, abrupt, or abnormal non-basketball moves. The league revealed that referees are no longer going to reward offensive players for launching themselves into defenders in an attempt to draw shooting fouls. Now, I'll put my hand up right now, and you can call me a hypocrite for being a guy that talks about Joel Embiid constantly and critiquing Trae Young for these specific things, but I do think that there's slight differences in the way that they go about it. That when Joel Embiid goes and does this, is he feels contact and he maximizes it. Trae Young creates contact. That when he started that drive, he had zero intentions except for getting Tyrese Maxey to foul him. While Joel Embiid does those things as well, and frankly, there's times where I do think it's embarrassing and stuff that he does overstep the line on, I am particularly mad at Trae Young in this situation. That I do think it's more egregious from Trae. That I think he goes out of his way to create the contact, just make the foul out of nothing in a way that very few can. Prime James Harden did quite the same thing. It is no new concept for players to be doing this, but the root of the issue comes back to refereeing. Guys will continue to do it if they continue to be rewarded for it. Trae Young got exactly what he wanted for in that situation. Got to the free throw line, got Tyrese Maxey out of the game. The referee made that call. The way to stop this from happening is by stopping for rewarding this exact act. That if you don't make these calls, guys will stop doing that. That they will not be leaning on, the forcing themselves to the line, getting to the free throw line, getting guys in foul trouble. And there's been plenty of critiques about that, and rightfully so. But to see Tyrese Maxey have his chance at dominating this game, having a signature win under his belt, be taken away because of a call like that is super frustrating, man. And once again, to dive into the box score for what Maxey specifically did. 35 points on the night, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 of 11 from 3, got to the free throw line 9 times. That's impressive stuff from Maxey, and really was the type of performance which we saw growth from him, that we saw him be in attack mode, be that number one, and deliver for this team. Now, one of the concepts that has been talked about in great depth was the Sixers team without Joel Embiid. They suffered another loss last night that they were outscored 14-7 in overtime after they really just straight up lacked firepower once that Maxey was eliminated from that game. This now moves the Sixers to just 2-7 this season in games without Joel Embiid, which is obviously a concern there. Now, it is no breaking news that a team without the MVP of the league, without their best player on their team, when he's not there, they're going to look a little different and look a little worse. But it is concerning just the dramatic change in identity with this team. And I also thought last night was an example of Nick Nurse not having a belief in either Paul Reed or Mo Bamba. That if we want to dig into the minutes for each of these guys, Paul Reed in 19 minutes had 9 points, had 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal, only 2 fouls. So this was not a foul issue situation with Paul Reed. Then you check to the bench, Mo Bamba with 14 minutes of play. He finished with 5 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 3 blocks. I thought Bamba looked pretty good. And despite those guys showing some flashes, Nick Nurse opted to go with Marcus Morris as the center in a lot of these stretches of the crunch time of this game. Now, Marcus Morris is obviously a more gifted offensive talent than either Bamba or Paul Reed, but the lack of rim protection that he can provide is so glaringly obvious on this team and really put this Sixers team at a deficit. Both Paul Reed and Mo Bamba have their issues, but you have to trust them right now. And I don't want to be doing the same backup center frustration that I've done for 3 years under Doc Rivers. We should be past that. And both Bamba and Paul Reed are far better options than other guys that the Sixers have dealt with in the past. The Greg Monroe, the Amir Johnson, the Dwight Howards. We've been through them all. The Sixers fans have been through the ringer here. But the question remains, that's only going to be a more glaring weakness if Joel Embiid is to miss more time. Now, I will get a more in-depth video on this when I have more concrete evidence or more concrete report on what the exact situation is. But there was a concerning report that was aired out by Ramona Shelburne here. She said on the Woj pod, quote, that knee injury is the same one that he had during the playoffs last year. And during the playoffs, he had to play. This is the kind of knee injury that normally is about a 4 to 6 week injury. Now, on the other side of things, Nick Nurse pregame last night spoke about how he was optimistic that Embiid would play tomorrow night, that he thinks this is a short-term deal, that he will be back. I want to refrain from having full judgment until there is some more information out, but I'll just say it's been very strange how vague the Sixers have been on this entire situation, that it was an ankle, then it was left knee swelling, and there hasn't been an exact injury diagnosis on that knee, exactly what's going on, other than it clear that Joel Embiid did not look like himself in that Knicks game. And if this is a 4 to 6 week injury, then Joel Embiid should be sitting out 4 to 6 weeks. No ifs, ands, buts, or MVP chasing about it. That if Joel Embiid is hurt, he should heal up. That the priorities are still winning the championship. And you know what? It might be the best thing for Joel Embiid to not be in that MVP race, to not be gunning for these big stats or going all out on a night-to-night basis. I wish that he was a guy that could do that on every night. But you know what? You got to deal with the cards that you were dealt. For Joel Embiid, injuries are always going to be a factor in his gameplay. We have yet to see a fully healthy run in the playoffs for Joel Embiid. Maybe taking 6 weeks off now is the best route to getting him to having that full opportunity. Now, I'm not saying that is even the case, and I'm still hoping best case scenario is Joel Embiid returns to the floor and is 100%. That for full reference on this quote, that it was kind of a throwaway comment by Ramona Shelburne. This was not a point where she was saying, this is breaking news, I need to talk about this. It kind of was just mentioned as a sidebar. Now, if that's a pretty significant sidebar that I've obviously seen circulating around, and whatever the legitimacy of that is very relevant, that if this is a real issue that Joel Embiid is dealing with, that is something that needs to be addressed. It's something that the Sixers need to take and make the priority, that his health above all is more important. And even as this team struggles without Joel Embiid, that we're seeing them 2-7 without him, they're obviously going to be a worse team when he's not on the floor, but they have to figure it out. And having him at full strength when the games matter most has to be the absolute number one goal for this Sixers team. for now, we're seeing flashes why they can survive. That it's disappointing that it ultimately was a loss last night, but for the first time all season, I saw Tyrese Maxey look like a guy that can win games as a number one option. A guy that took over down the stretch, had some signature moments, going up and dunking, hitting threes, defending, competing hard. He looked like exactly what I hoped. So if that's the case, keep tossing the reins, Joel, that you're allowed to sit out and let these other guys go. This was not a perfect game from the start. That it was a pretty solid game from Tobias Harris, ended with 32 points. Kelly Oubre, I think we saw the worst Kelly Oubre game of the season thus far. That's not going to be an every night occurrence, and he will be bouncing back from that. So I am interested to see what the full context of this Joel Embiid injury is, but I am still frustrated over the referee show and the state of the NBA when it comes to refereeing. This is another night where I'm out here talking about referees, not the actual basketball that is played. This coming just after the Raptors coach Darko went on a awesome rant about this, that his team versus the Lakers and the lack of calls going in their favor. And by the way, he was absolutely right about that. I don't think that this is an extent of the referees screwing the Sixers in an intentional basis, but I do think they are rewarding the wrong things, and the Sixers got the short end of the stick in multiple situations in that loss. I do want to hear what you guys think. How frustrated are you after that referee show? How surprised were you in the moment? I was furious watching my TV and watching it all go down last night, but I want to hear from you guys in the comments as well. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, say some prayers for Joel Embiid, hit that like, and I will talk with you next time right here on Sixers Digest.